Hey, space weather types, thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather Show. We've got a little bit of sunspot growth. A new sunspot rose over the eastern limb. A geomagnetic storm that's never arrived, forecasted by NOAA, and an insane earthquake uptick. We'll talk about it and lots more here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. This is a 24-hour video featuring two wavelengths of ionized iron and ionized helium from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. And there are a massive number of solar filaments. For example, this one right here. It is the largest filament that we've ever covered on the channel. And we've got the Earth scale there, just to show you how gigantic it indeed is. Now we're going to show this area in some different wavelengths. So let's switch this out. Here we've swapped out the 304 angstroms for 171 angstroms, just to get some great imagery of that filament, a historically gigantic solar plasma filament suspended by magnetic fields, defying gravity, and greatly increasing the probability of a huge coronal mass ejection in the coming days. Here we've swapped out the 193 angstroms for 211 angstroms. More great views there of the, well, it was named by one of our viewers, the John Kotowski filament. And let's bring back the 304 angstroms and get rid of the 211 for 171 plus 304. Dag. All I can say is dag. That is berserk. Here's the southern hemisphere. Again, we have a little bit of sunspot growth down in that area. We'll show you more detailed imagery of that here momentarily. And we put up the bar scale there instead of the Earth scale over there on the right, just so you can see how huge some of those plasma features are. That's a 44,000 kilometer scale there. Yeah, 44,000 kilometers. That's about the width of that huge plasma filament at one of its thicker and denser portions. So, eyes on this anchor spot right down here, as it is still between several sunspots, including this massive sunspot group right here. Don't be surprised to see a huge solar flare and or coronal mass ejection, with the action beginning somewhere in this area. An absolutely berserk and gigantic sunspot. By the way, thanks for tuning into the channel. Congratulations on realizing it exists. We're frankly surprised that you have. If you're new to the channel, do yourself a favor and press that subscribe button. Seems to be a little bit tough to get onto screens on YouTube for some reason. I guess it doesn't matter if you produce the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content and solar imagery. YouTube just recommends it randomly. It makes no sense. But anyway, press all the things like, subscribe, share, comment, etc. And you can find lots of ways to support the channel in the description. Thanks to everybody who has. And let's talk about ways to support the channel briefly here. Today's featured product is the Galactic Federation Special Forces product. So I would say to each of you, Universum Liberate. Yeah, that's some Latin language there for you. And if you don't know what it means, you have the internet. Look it up. It's right there. Universum Liberate. I'll just say this. A quote from Geddy Lee of Rush. If I could wave my magic wand, I'd set everybody free. The symbolism on the products represents the Milky Way galaxy, instantaneous galactic scale reach, signal strength and security. And of course, this bright area up here represents classified. So, frighten your friends and foes, perhaps even your family. Convince them that you're a member of the Illuminati by having a shirt or perhaps a miniskirt with Latin language on it that says Universum Liberate, the motto of the Galactic Federation Special Forces. Once you've brought peace to your household, county, state, region, country, hemisphere, and planet, bring peace to the galaxy with things like, dare I say, freedom and liberty. Another product you can find linked below the video is the Drive Medical Adjustable Non-Tilt Over Bed Table. One of the best pieces of furniture I've ever invested in. It's about $53. It's like those tables you see at the hospital to go over the bed so you can eat while you're in bed. Put one of these things in your living room and it will improve your life rapidly. You can find all kinds of office furniture choices there over at Amazon.com/shop/Smash-A-Mash, one of our paid affiliate /sponsors. There's an Amazon storefront linked below this video in the description. Check out supplements, coffee, kitchen supplies, and lots more. Another paid affiliate /sponsor is our Hemp Lucid. Check out the Hemp Lucid shop and continue to save a boatload of cash on stress, immune, and sleep stacks. Save even more with the full stack. $15 off each. And again, even more savings on the full stack Hemp Lucid shop linked below this video in the description. You can also find it on our homepage. Another website you're probably capable of viewing. If you're capable of viewing this video, you could probably head to smashamash.com. Help us out with clicks. Help us out with likes, subscribes, shares, and pressing all of the things. Because algorithms, because tags are broken, because reasons, because the market is completely shattered when it comes to online anything. All right, so let's get back to space. Here is October 6th and October 7th to date in SDO Continuum. Again, we have some growth of sunspots in the southern hemisphere. This small group turned into a more significant group. It looks like it's beta gamma class, possibly even beta gamma delta class. This sunspot group has stayed stable, and again, it is absolutely massive with an insane number of umbrae. Also, one more group just rose in the northeast, so we should see another uptick in sunspot number today. Here's colorized magnetogram for that same period of time, October 6th and 7th to date. And let's briefly talk volcanoes before we talk about the insane earthquake uptick. Wait, did I say uptick? I did not mean uptick. I said up. I meant to say uptick. If I said uptick, I apologize. Anyway, these are the volcanoes that are erupting. Mount Ibu is producing an 8,000-foot ash plume as it explodes over Halmahera, Indonesia. Dakono also exploding, flight level 080, another 8,000-foot ash plume. So 2 8,000-foot ash plumes there over Halmahera, Indonesia. Fuego down in Guatemala, possible volcanic emissions. Please do not pole vault the caldera. It could be unhealthful, and we don't want our viewers to become a portion of the lithosphere. Next, Sangay exploding down in Ecuador. Now down in South America, 20,000-foot ash plume there from Sangay as it explodes. It's a flight level 200. Continuous ash emissions from Sabancaya as well. Not sure about Ubinas in Peru. However, Lascar has not erupted, yet it's on the list. Now let's talk about earthquakes. Activity level is very high, and the craziest place was at Papua New Guinea, where 2 6.7 magnitude quakes happened only 6 minutes apart. We'll get to it. That is the last 90 days. And check out our thumbnail from yesterday, folks. Yeah, the thumbnail from yesterday. You see that? Are you picking up what I'm putting down, folks? So we will cite quakes over a 5 magnitude, and lots of quakes there around the Pacific Rim, and a total of 4 6+ magnitude quakes in the past 24 hours. That's called understanding the way statistical probabilities work, folks. Yeah, statistical probabilities. An actual way to forecast things, unlike a fictional way to forecast things. I guess it's definitely of note to cite this one. a 5.9 there in southern Mexico. That was at 5:06 this morning. So this morning, things really started to go berserk. Nepal had a 5.0. So more unrest continuing there at the Indo-Asian plate boundary. And then Afghanistan has a 6.3. Not good for Afghanistan, as those buildings are ancient and they have a tendency to turn to dust with 6+ magnitude quakes. So that probably caused untold amounts of damage depending on how highly populated it is. Let's take a look. And indeed, there are probably some buildings at that location. That quake happened at 6:41 Universal Time this morning, and then a 5.5 aftershock at 6:49, only 7 minutes later, adding insult to injury. And then guess what? Another 6.3 at 7:12. Suboptimal. The location for that one, very close to the original. So that's the scenario. And then a 5.9 aftershock right in that same location. Afghanistan is definitely shaken. And then at 8:34, a 6.7 at Papua New Guinea, and then another 6.7 at Papua New Guinea only 6 minutes later. A crazy uptick in earthquakes. Here are those two. This one was just on shore. And then this other 6.7 was just offshore. But very close together, just north of that first 6.7 magnitude quake. That is a properly berserk earthquake uptick. And then yet another quake in the Izu region of Japan. So we could be seeing 4 shocks there as well. We've been seeing significant number of quakes south of Japan there. Here's a location of that latest. There's the location of that. And let's get back to space now that we've covered the insane shaking going on planet Earth. Now we've put together, this is 211 plus 171 angstroms, another 24-hour HelioViewer movie. We do have a well-defined coronal hole that we'll talk about here momentarily. First, some more space weather stats. The next space weather stat is a 10.7 centimeter radio flux. It dipped down 1 solar flux unit to 155. There is the 1-year chart of the radio flux, the sunspot number, and so on. Sunspot number is the red line. Radio flux is the black line for the past year there from Solon.info. Moving right along to the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard, and NOAA forecasted a geomagnetic storm today. It never arrived. We've only seen diffuse and slow solar winds. No major changes to the magnetic fields. I don't know what they were talking about. I said yesterday I have no idea what they forecasted. The last 2 CMEs that we forecasted arrived exactly on time. So, cheers. Yeah, it's, I don't know, facts. Oh, those darn pesky facts. Sorry about all the facts, folks. I know it's very controversial to cite facts on YouTube. So here's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space, and we've got geomagnetically calm conditions, not stormy conditions. This Geospace Magnetosphere movie depicts magnetohydrodynamic pressure, the units of which are nanopascals. And again, the solar wind is currently very slow and also kind of diffuse. So no upticks in geomagnetism have occurred. Here's Earth's ground magnetic perturbations map. Changes to the Earth's B field, or geospace delta B. It depicts magnetic flux density at the surface, and magnetic flux densities units are nanotesla. Not a very good time for aurora viewing. Keep in mind this is a model, so if the active spacecraft is measuring extremely low solar wind, it's going to depict really weak magnetic field changes on Earth. So that's the way the space weather modeling framework works. And if you think it's not right, You could always look at the geoelectric map for North America. There you go. That's empirical data. It's actually voltage in the power grid. So, as you can see, no kind of geomagnetic storm or geomagnetic unrest conditions have occurred. Not even close. So that is just a way to verify that we have the appropriate data there from the active spacecraft. KP index is currently at 0.67. As I said, a geomagnetically calm situation. If you're new to the channel, the KP index is an average of global geomagnetism. And let's take a look at the real-time solar wind. Like I said, it's very slow. Very slow. Only about 350 kilometers per second. That is actually slower than normal for the solar wind velocity. Solar wind density here very diffuse at 1.83. And if you think this is a CME impact, think again. That is a switch of the spacecraft. Oh, that really is an uptick there as measured by the Discover. But here is a switch in the spacecraft. So the little tiny uptick there in the solar wind speed, barely even noticeable. It looks as much like a coronal hole as it does like a CME impact. So, yeah. Striking out there, and it's very uncommon for NOAA to forecast a coronal mass ejection impact that does not arrive. However, this time, that's the case. Again, solar wind density here quite diffuse at 2 protons per cubic centimeter. That is the measurement by the ACE spacecraft at Lagrangian point 1. Solar wind velocity here very slow at 350 kilometers per second. GOES magnetometers here also not indicating any sort of space weather coming in. So, yeah, facts. Next, our top view ecliptic plane field plot. And you will see some motions going on with the sector boundary crossing. So if you look at this sector boundary crossing right over here, where the South Pole current sheet depicted in red meets the North Pole current sheet depicted in green, you'll see a little bit of undulation happening there. That is a bit of a magnetic tug-of-war with the polarity of the plasma happening over there on the east. So, I mean, this is what happens. Sunspots grow and shrink quite spontaneously. And so it's unclear when the sector boundary crossing will arrive. However, at the moment, Earth is right in the middle of a South Pole current sheet, depicted there in red. We're at least a couple of days off, most likely, from a North Pole current sheet arriving and Earth crossing that sector boundary crossing. Next, our line of sight field plot. Here the Sun's B field is depicted in blue, polar fields in red and green, and the photosphere magnetism in grayscale. And next, coronal holes. So that's what's going on with coronal holes. We have a well-defined South Pole-oriented coronal hole here rotating into the Earth-facing zone. You can expect an uptick in the solar wind density in about 4 days and an uptick in the solar wind speed in about 5 days. Here are coronal holes from SDO's perspective. The 211 angstroms wavelength is optimal for viewing those. What evil lurks in the depths of coronal holes? Well, they're the source of high-speed solar winds. Or I'll say they're associated with high-speed solar winds. Because really the mechanism isn't necessarily fully understood. Now let me show a little close-up of that. So there are the past 24 hours. That incoming coronal hole there. And you can expect a continued uptick in coronal holes moving forward for the next 2 years. Yeah, 2 years, because we're still like a year away from solar maximum at least. And we've had a shortage of coronal holes during this solar cycle so far. However, that will not continue. That will definitely increase because the solar polar field reversal process has to occur as those coronal holes must migrate to the opposite pole from where they started at the solar cycle 24 to 25 transition. So those are some more facts. We apologize if those facts were too controversial for any people's dogmatic views about what's going on with solar activity. Oh, yes. So we have seen a dip in the sunspot number. You can expect a little increase in the sunspot number today. Sunspot number here, according to Royal Observatory of Belgium, is at 130, about 130, maybe 133, something like that. That's the past month. And I would note that solar cycle 25 is continuing to look like it might be a stronger solar cycle than solar cycle 23. I mean, look at the graph. Just look at the graph. I don't need to debunk Zarkova or do anything like this. Look at the graph. Solar cycle 25 is ahead of solar cycle 23 in terms of its activity at this point in the cycle. So that could continue, and we could see a solar cycle stronger than solar cycle 23. The possibility of solar cycle 25 being weaker than solar cycle 24 is zero. That would be impossible because solar cycle 25 has already surpassed solar cycle 24, as you can see on the graph. So anybody who wants me to debunk Zarkova, it's not necessary to debunk Zarkova and any of the nonsense about grand solar minima, because that's not a grand solar minima. As I was telling people back in 2018 and 2019, you need 2 weak solar cycles in a row at least to declare a spooky grand solar minimum. We're not seeing that. We're seeing a weak solar cycle and then an at least average solar cycle. It's more like average to strong solar cycle 25. There's no debunking necessary. Zarkova did not forecast reality. That graph is reality. Does that cover it? Does that cover it? Okay, good. So let's talk sunspot flare probability and so forth. There's the flare monitor and scoreboard. And once again, this sunspot right here is absolutely massive. It's got the largest filament we've covered in 6 years right ahead of it and to its north, and partially to its south. It's surrounded by a massive filament. The likelihood of a large solar flare, including an X-class flare, check it out, 32% chance of an X-class flare according to this monitor. That is associated with magnetic shear. Yes, you can forecast solar flares. It's not a mystery. It's a known thing. So let's take a look at sunspots here. Starting out with the SDO magnetogram. So there's the past 24 hours. Again, we have a little bit of growth in the southern sunspot. And we do have at least one new group that just rose in the northeast. You can just see that peeking over the horizon there at the end of the 24-hour video. And we have a 1 in 3 chance of an X-class solar flare from this massive sunspot group right here. So those are some more facts. Solar flare droughts end in solar flares, the same way earthquake droughts end in earthquakes. Here's the SDO continuum for the past 24 hours. Am I being too emphatic, folks? I'll try to talk with a calmer voice. Is that better? There is a 32% chance of an X-class solar flare from that massive sunspot group. Boo! Next we'll talk solar flares and energetic particles. As far as energetic particles go, we ain't got none. The GOES proton flux remains at baseline levels. There are the past 3 days of the GOES proton flux. And we've seen major underperformance here in solar flare activity, SEPs. There is the past 3 days of solar flares, and largest flare of the past 24 once again happened like right as I got out of bed today at about 8:10 universal time. It was only a C3.5. So just minor flaring here. And again, let me just say that again, folks. The likelihood of an X-class solar flare is like 30+%. So that's pretty serious. Anyway, here are the past 24 hours from SDO in 94 angstroms, one of the optimal wavelengths through which to view flares. And it looks like that recent C-class event did come from this sunspot region up here. We've got multiple areas where we could see large flares, not just here, but also here, and also up here we're seeing some activity. So plenty of spots capable of producing large solar flares, especially this sunspot. Likelihood of an X-class flare showing up at 30+%. That's kind of high. And by the way, if you do see an X-class flare from that area, expect to see a massive coronal mass ejection around the same time, because again, there is the largest filament we've covered on the channel in over 6 years, right next to it. So that's a thing. Continuing on to look at a star chart. That's what's going on overhead Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. And if you're viewing the early morning sky there before sunrise, you might be able to see the moon right next to Gemini twins, Castor and Pollux. You might also see Jupiter setting in the west. And the third brightest object there, Venus, rising ahead of the sun there, very high in the sky. And if you're viewing the dusk sky, you might see Mars, which is just peeking over the horizon here at Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Next, we'll do a solar system forecast. Here is where things are currently located. And by the way, the reason these have this purple glow around them is not because of spooky, spooky electromagnetism and spooky, spooky magnetic connections and any kind of spooky electric anything. It's nothing like that at all. It's because those planets are in retrograde motion, meaning that they're moving in the opposite direction to the background stars. That's what the spooky, spooky purple glows mean on theplanetstoday.com. Anyway, here's your solar system forecast. We'll move this ahead 1 week to show you facts about where things will be located. And by the way, the planets don't control the sun and are not going to kill you. They've been doing this for billions of years. You'll be just fine. Here's your forecast. As we approach the new moon, it's going to fall on, it looks like the 15th of October. That's where things will be in 1 week on the 14th. Next, our astronomy photo of the day, and it's berserk. Once again, looking at M31. We looked at it yesterday. Here we are again today. That is the Spitzer telescope's infrared spectra of M31, the Andromeda Galaxy. Basically, what you're looking at there is multi-wavelength dust. And it looks very differently from the visible. So that's part of the reason why we view infrared spectra. It shows us a lot of features. Of course, the James Webb Space Telescope is the highest resolution infrared space telescope ever built. But that's the Spitzer's data there. And if you look at the astronomy photo of the day, you can see M31 in visible as well as in infrared. So another totally awesome image there from apod.nasa.gov. apod.nasa.gov. And it's time to view coronal mass ejections. Another thing that you shouldn't be spooked of, but if you are, hey, that's on you. The sun still not going to kill you. It's actually a beneficial thing. You know, the local star that provides all the light and heat for the planet, the source of all life on Earth, essentially. Oh, man. If you're spooked to the sun and you're spooked to the galaxy, you may want to press unsubscribe to our channel. Space, not spooky. Anyway, there are 93 frames from yesterday, some CMEs there, which are not earthly directed. I watched all day, and those are not earthly directed CMEs. Next, today's 40 frames. And that's, by the way, that's difference imagery on the left and the raw coronagraph on the right. Difference imagery is simply pixels subtracted from previous pixels, and it's showing you the time difference there. So that's a 36-minute running difference for the most part there. The pixels subtracted from 36 minutes ago's pixels, if that makes sense. Moving right along to show the C2 and C3. Did I see a comet there? I think I saw a comet. I don't know, maybe not. Let's show the more zoomed in version here. And the C3 is a little bit ahead of the C2 there. Time and date stamps are shown at the bottom of the screen. So coronal mass ejection activity has been minor here. And the likelihood of CMEs in the coming 24 hours remains at nearly 100%. There is a crazy number of filaments once again on the solar disk. We'll also show stereo A and its difference imagery. As we do daily, feel free to pause the video on this frame if you want to look at the locations of the solar orbiter and the Parker Solar Probe and Bepi Colombo and stereo A, which is that red circle. Anyway, there are stereo A's coronagraph images. Raw coronagraph on the left, difference imagery on the right. Things have been pretty chill as far as coronal mass ejections in the past 24 hours. Next, moving to filaments. So there is the Udaipur, India. Why am I on Udaipur? I thought I was looking at El Teide, Spain. And voila, now I am on Teide, Spain. It's not only clearer, it's also more up to date. So again, a massive number of filaments on the solar disk. We've got at least 4 that are really worthy of names. I mean, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Those are all worthy of names. We like to name filaments after living people. Shout out to Renee, one of our board members for smashomash.org, came up with the idea of naming solar filaments. A truly brilliant idea. You know, since now everything's getting a name. Tropical storms are getting names. Tropical depressions are getting names. Winter snowstorms are getting names. So why not name plasma filaments after living humans? Yeah, it seems like a brilliant idea. They're lively, just like some people who aren't zombies. Although if you do know zombified people that you want to name filaments after, please feel free. So here is the El Teide, Spain's grayscale. It does show prominences. There is a large crown prominence up there. It's not super visible in that imagery. However, if we break out the SDO 171 plus 193 angstroms, it's also not particularly visible. Although it does show up well on the GO 16, which we will show you here in just a moment. So that's another 24-hour HelioViewer movie there from the Solar Dynamics Observatory, which continues to be my favorite telescope. Next, if you want to name filaments, go do it over on Twitter. And if you think free speech has been fixed by Elon over on Twitter, think again, you're living in a delusional fantasy world. Censorship continues. Quote, "Freedom of speech does not mean freedom of reach." In other words, censorship. Yes, censorship. Alphabet, Apple, Meta, and Twitter, the 4 evilest corporations in known history. So here is the GO 16 SUVI, and check out that crown prominence. It is part of this huge filament, I think. So it's very hard to tell, as that filament may even be wrapping around the northeastern polar region there. That filament is berserk. Berserk, I tell you. The largest filament that we've covered in over 6 years of daily space weather videos. So yeah, lots of stuff going on. And let's go to bonus features. Bonus features start out with satellite charging hazards. We ain't got none. It's clear skies for satellites at the moment. No surface or internal charging hazards currently. Goes electron flux here just in normal operating range. You don't see it cratered as if you were seeing a coronal mass ejection or coronal hole high-speed stream impact. We ain't got that. The GOES electron flux is just in a normal moderate range. There's the 1-year graph to contextualize it. You can see it's right in the middle of the range there. That's from solon.info. And there is the NOAA forecast. The green boxes represent the forecast. The yellow diamonds, they don't represent carbon or nonsense about the grand solar minimum. They don't represent talc. They represent the observation. Next, we'll show the layer of the atmosphere where it's measured. The F layer. That is located at about 300 kilometers of altitude. The F layer of the ionosphere. Feel free to pause the video on the frame if you're not familiar with this information, like temperature inversions on atmospheric layers, the penetration of atmospheric radiation, and the concentration of chemicals. We're seeing mostly high-frequency anomalies here at the moment in the ionosphere. So we'll see lots of blue on the anomalygram, not lots of red that you would typically see associated with low-frequency anomalies, associated with geomagnetic storm conditions. We ain't got none. What we do have is the most accurate space weather forecasting in the known universe. So that's something the channel brings. You would think it would be popular, but apparently facts are too controversial. So, sub 5,000 subscribers on YouTube at this point. Here's the anomalygram depicting anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. And again, lots of blue showing up there. No geomagnetic storm conditions have occurred. And let's bring up the latest images. There's 12:30 universal time, lots of high-frequency anomalies there, and there's 12:30 universal time anomalygram. We'll also show total electron content after we show the maximum usable frequency. This is the ionosphere nowcast. It better be the nowcast. There we go. Yeah, that's the nowcast. So it depicts total electron content and anomaly and maximum usable frequency and anomaly. This is good for radio and GPS users. And it's one of our newest features on the Daily Space Weather Show. We'll also show total electron content anomaly forecast. So, again, that's the nowcast. And here's the forecast. So, by the way, total electron content is depicting free electrons from about 12,500 miles of altitude down to ground level. Those free electrons cause signal refraction, which is what the total electron content forecast is showing. And by the way, it's looking extremely anomalously here. That looks like bad forecasting. So there's no reason why the electron contents would be that low. There's something going on with the total electron content forecast here at the moment. Not sure why that is. Is it because Nibiru siphoned off Earth's electrons? Well, certainly not, since Nibiru doesn't exist. So I don't know what's going on with the total electron content forecast there. Do not expect that to be correct. So where you see those brightest yellow areas, you can expect massive GPS errors there as you normally would. Those are looking like erroneous forecasts. Next, we like to show the total electron content anomaly over North America. And by the way, this looks completely normal. Or should I say, it looks completely normally. Remember, folks, don't get your adjectives and adverbs confused. You could sound like an imbecile if you get your adjectives and adverbs confused. So don't. Don't talk idiotically. As if you talk idiotically, you may be idiotic. See what I did there? Anyway, there's the anomaly from the 10-day average for total electron content for North America. And really, no major anomalies there. We'll close out space weather before shifting gears to meteorology with the latest intensitygram and latest magnetogram. So we're just going to show one sunspot today, that one. That Beta Gamma Delta class sunspot could be the location where we see an X-class solar flare. So we'll keep an eye on it. And when I say ion, well, pardon the pun. Anyway, here's the full disk rock back showing intensitygram and magnetogram. And let's move to meteorology. I picked it up as a value-added service. Yeah, because people want to know how to forecast their weather. So we, here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, empower our viewers instead of encourage our viewers to cower in a bunker and not understand basic physics. What we're looking at here are sea surface temperature anomalies and surface winds. And this low is going to continue to be a story here as it crashes in to the eastern coast of North America, bringing heavy rains to places like Maine, New Brunswick. And then it's going to turn to the west and bring snow to Ontario. So that's the current situation. Keep in mind it is going to go over a bunch of cold water here, so it might weaken the system a bit. In fact, it is guaranteed to weaken the system a bit. Look at how cold the water is there. The water there is 8 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than normal. So that will not help to strengthen anything whatsoever. It will instead weaken that system. The low will get weaker. That's just more basic facts about the way weather works. We apologize for any controversy created by citing facts here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. I understand facts are very controversial, especially the past 43 months. Well done, Alphabet, Apple, Meta, and Twitter. Well done. Well done. Accountability is coming. You probably won't enjoy it. You may want to sell your freaking stock. Might be a good idea. Here are the surface winds of the eastern world. Here are the jet streams of the eastern world. Here are the jet streams of the central world. That's Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. How about the surface winds? There you go. Shout out to our viewers from all around the planet. Who knew we'd make so many friends and foes by doing things like accurate forecasting and space weather? Here are the surface winds of the west. And let's don't forget the jet streams. Doubled up jet stream there, converging over the southeastern U.S. as cold air blasts across Superior, Michigan, and Huron. Next, your forecast for how this low is going to operate. So we're just going to move this ahead one day here to get the maximum accuracy for this forecast. This is where it is today. That is mean sea level pressure. Let's put that right in the middle of the map there. That is mean sea level pressure. We'll advance this into tomorrow at noontime. So that thing is going to rapidly move to the north. By 12 noon Eastern time tomorrow, it'll be right over St. John. That is the Euro model. Here's the GFS model. GFS model has it quite far to the west, actually. And that is to say, not the whole system is going to be to the west, but there's going to be a stronger low-pressure environment there to the west, according to the Euro model. I don't know. Anyway, there's the Euro model. There's the GFS model. Let's move on to look at clouds and fog. And we'll show you that low where it is now. But that's clouds and fog, shortwave radiation, 3.9 micrometer infrared radiation. And here's a close-up of that low there, just moving north of Bermuda now. On a collision course with New Brunswick, Canada. Oh my God. Dear God. Holy cripes. Criminy cripes of a Jeebus Gond. Holy, oh my goodness graciousness. Here's your weather.gov map, and look at all the freeze warnings. Massive amount of freeze warnings here showing up kind of early. The first week in October. Check it out. Frost advisories there in North Carolina, Virginia, and even parts of Georgia. Those areas are so hot that they're cold. Next year forecast, since the jet stream is in charge, let's show what the jet stream is up to. And there it is. That is the 250 millibar wind forecast based on a GFS model. 72 hours. Next, your plug. TropicalTidbits.com is where these forecasts come from. Shout out to Dr. Levi Cohen, TropicalTidbits.com. Make sure you visit their website if you want to make your own weather maps. Here is your temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius for the next 72 hours, also based on the GFS model. And we just had cold air blow into Pennsylvania just now. It was hot and humid half an hour ago, and now I feel a chilly, chilly air blowing in. So we're going to get a sudden rain squall here also. Anyway, here is your GFS 72-hour pressure and precipitation forecast. You can see that low is going to make a sudden turn to the west, creating ice storms and some heavy snows there in eastern Canada. And I've got to pause the video yet again. I'll be right back. The weather is not cooperating with the production of this video. Anyway, we will also show the total accumulated precipitation in inches for the next 72 hours on the GFS model because heavy rains coming to northern New York, Vermont, and also Maine especially, seeing like 4 inches of rain there. Some flood watches showing up there on the maps. 72-hour GFS total accumulated precipitation forecast in inches is what we're showing here. Continuing on to our lightning mapper, this is where the lightning has been, and it has been quiet across the U.S. for lightning for the past about 10 hours. Here's the current situation, and check it out. Incredibly low lightning amounts. Oh my God, stop the presses, folks. There's not enough lightning. Oh no, Nibiru, it's stealing the electrons and the lightning. Oh my God. Lightning levels are low, folks. Watch out. We're having a shortage of lightning. It's a lightning shortage. Oh, no. Maybe the universe isn't electric anymore. Now that I've gotten that out of my system. No, only 42 strikes per minute. Oh, my God. Lightningmaps.org is pretty sweet. Next time you hear thunder, check it out. Lightningmaps.org. It's a good time. And let's close this mother out, but first, why not click our links? Yeah, if you enjoy the content and you'd like to see it actually continue to exist, remain publicly visible and free for all to view, try clicking the links below the video. Just saying, I mean, we don't want to put all the content behind a paywall, but we consider doing it every day. So help out the channel by visiting smashomash.com and the links, and hit us up on social media and press share and like and so on. I mean, it's not really that much to ask, is it? You are able to view this video, therefore you're able to view a website. I would suspect you must have the internet. So yeah, smashomash.com. We created a massive web ring to help out people like you. So I don't know, use the resources. Become a member of the Smash team, perhaps. You want to support the channel, become a gold annual paid-up subscriber. That's the best value. It includes complimentary merch. Did you know that? Yeah, become a member of the Smash team, folks. There's also a silver level. There's even a bronze level. There's even a coronal mass ejection happening right now. Actually, I think it's just a prominence. There's a CME. I don't know. Whatever. Become a member of the Smash team, though, for real. Smashomash.com/Smash team, our official subscription services site. Yeah, we are still on Patreon, too. But smashomash.com/SmashTeam is vastly superior, and let's close this video out with the latest U.S. Doppler radar map. Ground-based systems which depict vertical motion of ice crystals and water droplets in the air column. There's the full 50-state view, and here is the lower 48 view. Dun-dun! Here is clouds and fog depicted by the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. 3.9 micrometer infrared radiation. It shows clouds and fog, even at nighttime. And here's water vapor. 6.19 micrometer infrared radiation, which shows the dry air masses as well as the moist ones. Next is your recap to close out this video. A recap of U.S. Doppler radar, which is what most weather forecasters will show you without telling you anything about the way weather actually works as it snows in North Dakota and Minnesota. Clouds and fog. And water vapor. And if I were Batman, I would not tell you on the internet. Anyway, thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. I'm spooked of all this space and weather and stuff. It's so spooky that I'm headed back to the bunker. In the meantime, may that solar wind be at your back. I'm going back to the bunker again. All the stupid crap I've heard encourage me to climb in.